This video is strictly for educational purposes only. Cheating in online video games is against the game's terms of service and will often lead to a ban. So, what is DMA? DMA stands for Direct Memory Access. There are quite a few parts that make up a DMA setup, but often there's only three things that are needed: two computers and a DMA card. You may be thinking 2 computers isn't that going to be expensive? Technically, no, it isn't expensive. You use your main PC anyway, which the DMA will plug into via a slot on the motherboard, and the second PC doesn't need to be fancy. A lot of people use an Intel NUC PC, which can range anywhere from $100 to $300. There are quite a few types of DMA cards. The most common types are 35T and 75T. A 35T or 75T DMA card can be purchased for around $60 to $80. The DMA will need firmware to keep it hidden from the anti-cheats, however, we will discuss that later. How does DMA work? The DMA card is plugged into the main PC motherboard. From here, it is then plugged into the second PC via the USB-C ports on the back of the card. There are 2 ports. One is the data port used for interacting with memory, and the other one is the JTAG port used for flashing firmware. The DMA accesses memory stored inside the RAM of the main PC. This is where all the juicy stuff is stored, like player locations and attributes, for example, health, ammo, etc. This information is sent through the USB cable connecting the DMA to second PC, and is then used by the cheat. There are tons of different cheats for many different games. The majority of these cheats offer features like Aimbot, wallhacks, recoil control, and triggerbot. More advanced developers may opt in to add features like a web menu, zone prediction, and radar. There are 2 different types of DMA cheats, ones that read memory and ones that read but also write memory. I will try my best to explain both. The way I like to describe read-only cheats is, let's say you went to the library and read a book. If you read the book and then put it straight back after, no one would know you have touched it. This is the exact same when it comes to reading game memory. The game doesn't know you have read the memory because you have left no trace of even being there. Now let's flip it and talk about cheats that write memory. If you entered the library, started reading a book, but decided to draw inside and rip out a few pages, the library would realize that someone has done something to the book. This is the same in terms of writing to the game's memory. The game may eventually realize that someone has been changing things inside the code and would be able to trace it back to you. This is where account bans can occur. Personally, I think read-only cheats make the most sense, and thankfully most of them on the market only offer read features. What are the other parts of a DMA setup? Well, obviously you have the things I spoke about earlier, but there are 2 more things that I would personally recommend. The first one is an AIM device. These include things like an Arduino, Ferrum, MaxCU, and kmbox. Kmbox is known to be a bit hit or miss, but the others hold up very nicely. An Arduino will need to be built and flashed with firmware. This normally costs around $60 to $70 depending on where you are from. A MaxCU is a much cheaper alternative, coming in at around $30. A Ferrum is the best option as it is the safest and also supports 8K polling rate for more advanced mice. These are more expensive though, coming in at around $130. These devices will allow you to use Aimbot. They plug into both computers via a USB and have an extra slot for your mouse to plug into. They often automatically connect to the cheat once the drivers have been installed on the second PC. I am currently using a Razer Viper V3 Pro, which is plugged into my Arduino. To keep me safe, my Arduino is spoofed to show as a Zowie gaming mouse. Here you can see me unplugging the Arduino and the Zowie mouse disappearing from my control panel. The second item is a fuser. If you were to play without a fuser, the wallhacks would only show on whatever display is connected to the second PC. The cheats would show a plain black screen with the wallhacks drawn over the top. A fuser eliminates the color black and makes it completely transparent. It will then merge the second PC display over the main PC display. You will then be able to see your game with the wallhacks drawn over the top. There are 2 main types of fusers, a 1080p 240Hz one and a 1440p 240Hz one. The 1080p one costs anywhere from $80 to $120. The 1440p one costs anywhere upwards of $300. I personally think all of these parts are equally important and will massively improve your cheating experience. If you do not want to purchase a fuser, then you can use a capture card or NDI and OBS. However, these methods can be difficult to set up. Here is a video I made showing a Daishen Generation 4 fuser. It's pretty easy to set up and makes the entire experience a whole lot nicer as it overlays your ESP on top of your video game. I definitely recommend one of these. Feel free to pause at any point if you would like to read more about it or skip to the next section. How does the DMA remain undetected? The DMA needs something called firmware flashed onto it. Firmware requirements and devices can vary between different anti-cheats, so let's discuss it. I may use some fancy terminology here, so be warned. I will also group anti-cheats together based on their requirements to bypass. Level 1. Valve and Ricochet. These are used in games like CS2 and Call of Duty. They don't check for DMA, so any firmware can be used. Level 2. Battle Eye. This is used in games like Rainbow Six, DayZ, and Destiny 2. Nothing too crazy needs to be changed here, and firmware can easily be found on GitHub for these games. Level 3. EAC and ACE. These are used on games like Fortnite, Rust, and Delta Force. They didn't used to have too many requirements, however, it has changed a lot recently. In order for the DMA to not become blocked by the anti-cheat, it must now send interrupts. The interrupts determine whether a device is active or not. Think of it like ringing a doorbell. The DMA will ring your key and the key will respond and remember who and how many times it was rung. If it doesn't respond, then it's considered inactive and will be blocked. The price for this firmware is pretty cheap, ranging from $55 to $100. Some sellers price theirs at $150 plus, which is very overpriced in my opinion. Level 4. Vanguard. This is used for Valorant and League. It has some pretty tough requirements. A Wi-Fi and Ethernet card emulation would need to show as being fully connected. AHCI and NVMe would need a proper identify structure backing it so Windows can pull information from it, like it was an active and functional storage drive. XHCI would need proper child devices attached to it. These requirements have caused a lot of sellers to become blocked or increase their prices. Prices can range from $200 to $500, often with limited warranty. Level 5. Faceit. Faceit is used in competitive tournaments for CS2, Overwatch 2, Apex, and a few other games. It is considered the most difficult because not only does it have lots of requirements like Vanguard, but it also blocks a variety of random devices. Faceit firmware is normally either very expensive or kept private to remain secure. Prices are normally $600 or more. So here I am, running a modified version of DRV Scan. I am currently using Realtek card reader firmware, which is shown in my device manager. As you can see, it is located at PCI bus 5, which shows up on DRV Scan as 050000. You can also see that I have one interrupt fired, which stops the DMA from being blocked by the anti-cheats. What is the difference between being blocked and being banned? A blockage is when the anti-cheat will block your DMA from working. A good way to test if your firmware is blocked would be to run a speed test while the game is closed to confirm the DMA works, and then open the game and run another test after a few minutes. If the test fails, then the firmware is blocked. Your account will not get banned. You'll just need to get new firmware. A ban is literally what it says in the name. The anti-cheat will just straight up ban your account. A big reason why people get banned is for using badly emulated firmware. Remember to always buy from a trusted seller with a good warranty and a healthy amount of vouchers. Normally, these are displayed in their Discord server. Does using a DMA make you invincible? The answer is no. A big fat no. There are still quite a few detection vectors. I will list them now. Vector 1. DMA firmware. If your firmware is poorly emulated, you will get banned. Sometimes firmware may get blocked too, so be sure to buy from a place with a decent warranty just in case. Vector 2. AIM device. The AIM devices all require firmware to hide their true identity. If games see you are playing with an Arduino plugged in, they will ban you. This is why you need to flash it and change the serials so it looks like an actual mouse. Vector 3. Fuser. Your fuser will need to be spoofed to show up as your main monitor. Newer generations of fusers will do this automatically, however older versions don't. You will need to grab the monitor's .bin using moninfo and then flash it onto the fuser with DC injector. You only need to do this once. I have never had an issue with mine. Vector 4. Gameplay. Just because you have a DMA, it does not mean you can just rage cheat and not get banned. Lots of games now have server-side checks, for example. Too high of a KD or headshot ratio. A DMA does not make you immortal, only you can decide how you play. Do not rage and then blame the firmware provider for getting banned. They cannot control your gameplay. There are two types of cheating: closeting and raging. Closeting is where you hide the fact you are cheating by keeping your KD and headshot percentage low. You also don't trace enemies through a wall. This makes it hard for people to visibly see if you are cheating and makes it a lot harder to be caught out via match review systems. Raging is the complete opposite. Raging can include locking onto people through walls and floors, displaying no recoil on guns with lots of recoil and silent aim, which is basically where your bullet pretty much teleports to their head. Rage features often write to memory, which I discussed earlier. They are less safe, but are used to help you win if you face another rage cheater. There are plenty of members within the community that offer help and answer questions from anyone. Below, I will link a Discord server that offers all kinds of DMA help. Don't waste your money on overpriced firmware. Make sure to buy from a place with a good amount of vouchers and a decent warranty in case your firmware gets blocked. Remember, cheating is against the game's terms of service. It is entirely your decision if you choose to do it. I am just putting out some important information related to the subject. Thank you for watching, and feel free to share this video with anyone you may know who is interested in cheating.